you guys think of the film? We're very honored to have this film here. Jojo Rabbit opens a very nice annual gift presented by Halekulani, and we have a sweet treat for you. No idea about this, but we have the writer, director, and co-star of the film, Taika Waititi. Hello. Hi, everyone. Hi.
Oh man, I didn't even know I was going to be here. Thanks so much. Let's just get through the credit. I didn't even know that the camera trainees were writing conclusions of it. Boom operators, Thomas Patricia, and guys who do it. Just like a weird Q&A or something. Are there any lights?
Yeah, the lights are going to come on pretty soon. Where's this one?
Sort of like a 4 a.m. chat.
Not a far outside chat or anything like that. But
I'm trying to order an Uber. And you're like, nah, don't go, man. Nah, don't go.
Yeah, that's so young.
No, 3 minutes away, this guy. Derek is 3 minutes away. Can we get some lights?
Yeah, can we get some lights, please? Anytime soon.
No?
No? Okay.
And that's what I love about HIFF.
Oh, yay! Yeah.
Just lights at the back of the room. Perfect.
So.
Just like really
right
bright, annoying lights. Right here.
So we are going to
one
start the
person
Q&A.
just taking photos. I am getting a photo.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, you're done. Go on. Hey, Anderson.
How are you doing?
Good. I love your brother's restaurant.
Oh, thank you. You have many animals there, right?
Well, the thing about Pig and Lady is that if there's an animal you've heard about, they will kill it and serve it to you.
Yes. Well, kind
What's
of.
that for?
I think that's for your poster.
Oh,
Yeah.
we've got a poster.
Yeah, we got a
Like
poster.
a real movie.
So, we're going to start the Q&A with Taika. Taika Waititi here. We're very honored. He's been here at the festival how many times? 4 times now?
16.
16 times? Okay.
So we've got a poster for this movie. There's one that just travels with me. And that's it. So that was a very special care of this thing.
Okay.
Any questions?
Let me ask the first question. How's that?
Okay.
All right. I'm sorry. But, so, tell me about the book that inspired this film. How did you get into it, and what inspired you to make this into a feature film?
Okay, guys. Let's get real. Okay. So, my mother is a school teacher. Where are you two going? I'm kidding. I'm just about to get into this insane story. And you guys are like, nope, not interested. I'm out. Okay. Well, a new person came in and just said, no, you've missed everything. Well, my mother is a school teacher. And when I was growing up, as punishment, she would make me read William Blake poems and write essays about them. And so she said to me one day, I'm reading a book and I want you to read it. And I said, I don't like you and your punishments. But I had to agree because I wanted that house that she's going to leave to me once she passes on. So I'm playing along there. So I read this book. And the thread of the book is about a little boy in Honolulu. These mics are horrible.
Yeah. Sorry, man.
So I just got that.
Yeah.
Is that better?
It works for me.
Check this out. I'm about to use these skills I learned in theatre way back in the day. I'm going to project. Check this out.
So my mother was reading this book, and she said to me, "You must read this book." And it's about a little boy who is living in World War II, and he discovers that his mother is hiding a Jewish girl in their attic. And I thought, that's intriguing. And I didn't buy the book. I just took her copy, and I read it, and it was amazing. And then I thought, I'm going to turn that into a movie. And then I did, and I have many more interesting stories like that. You know what's amazing is also just to go somewhere and have a standing ovation with one person. What? Okay, this is a disaster.
And a lay for you.
A question
And a
lay.
lay, yes. And so,
My favorite kind of question.
okay, so first of all, just real quick, I have to take the opportunity to say I grew up on Molokai, and you know, I don't know if you know anything about it, but it's a lot of indigenous native Hawaiians and a lot of poverty. And when I saw the film Boy, I felt like it was the first time that I actually saw something that I related to on film. So I just wanted to say that. And I just was wondering what you thought about people making films about other cultures like this. I loved it, but just in general, like.
The question
Can
is
you pass this to him, guys?
no, I'm coming to you. Oh my God, I'm 44.
We have our
I'm 44. Well, about other people telling other,
Yes.
other people's stories.
Yes.
Well, here's the thing about us. I'm Jewish. And this was a plan. I had to be only two Jews. What's hilarious is that I would even need to say that. And because that makes it okay. Thank you so much. So my mother's family escaped the pogroms in Russia in 19something, and this is how I talk. I just do this with my hand. But yeah, so when she told me about this story, I thought, okay, I love the story about this kid who essentially is trying to understand this monster in his attic. And the book, there's no imaginary Hitler. There's no. It's not a funny book. It's not a funny book. But
Oh, you Taika-fied it.
I talk about it.
You
Yeah.
Taika-fied it, yeah.
I added jokes and Hitler.
Yeah. So, we're talking about, this must have been a hard sell to Hollywood, but Nazi youth, coming of age story with an imaginary Hitler. I mean,
Well, it's still not popular. No?
so not popular. Yeah, exactly. But also, did you always intend to play Adolf, or did you seek out other actors who would be?
Well, obviously, growing up in New Zealand as a young Māori boy, it's a big dream of ours to play Hitler. You know, growing up, it's like, how do we get out of this place? I know how to play the most arrogant asshole ever. No, it was never a plan. But Fox Searchlight read the script and said, we love it, and we're only gonna make it if you play Hitler. So you can blame them. Their fault.
Their fault.
They blackmailed me.
Talk about, you work with like young actors so well. Talk about casting Jojo, Roman Griffin Davis.
Yeah, so the young boy who played Jojo, incredible actor. So I've worked with kids in most of my movies. Here's the thing, I don't like it. There's a reason they say don't do it. It's hard. So anyway, when I got the green light and they said, make the movie, I went straight to Craigslist. And, any little Nazi kids out there? Want to get or they were suddenly quiet. And so we did the normal channel with casting. Roman's dad is a very respected cinematographer whose name is Ben Davis, who does Martin McDonald's films and Marvel films. Look him up. But Roman had never acted before in a movie, and he was incredible.
Incredible. And talking about a fellow Kiwi, Thomas Mackenzie, who played the girl. I mean, she's Kiwi as well. Were you familiar with her work? Because we just know her from Leave No Trace, which was an incredible performance that she did last year.
Yeah, well, Thomason was probably one of the few New Zealanders who I've never met, and I'm very good friends with her parents. Right? It's not nepotism, right? It's not like that. But she's always been an incredible actor. She was in Leave No Trace.
Leave No Trace, yeah.
And I said, come and do the role, and she went and did a lot of research, as you should. And then I said, I like that you've done that. Why don't you also watch Mean Girls and Heathers? Because I wanted that character to feel like, basically, if you look at Elsa, I feel like before the war she was probably in the cool group at school. And maybe not necessarily the nicest person at school. And knowing myself as a really good looking teenager at school, if you're thrust into this situation where you're like put into an attic, you might not be that nice to a young boy who represents the enemy. So I just wanted to encourage you to be.
Sure. Yeah. How about questions from the audience? Yes, go ahead.
Did you actually grow a Hitler stash? Or was it prosthesis?
Hitler stash.
The question is, do I grow a Hitler stash? The answer is no. No. Well, it's bad enough to dress like that, but also to actually try and direct people like that is
Like, did you dress all in the regalia that you just forget when you're directing? Or
well, we all forget what we look like.
Yeah.
During the day.
Sure.
So I'll say, all right, okay, so come through the door, I'll come down a bit faster, come through here and then say bye, and then I catch a glimpse of myself in a reflection. No, Jesus. You don't have to. That's not an order. That's what you need to do now. No, it's horrible. And I did have, to my shame, I had a meltdown on set, and I yelled at the crew, dress as Hitler.
Okay. All right. Yes, go ahead.
Were any lines improvised by actors in the film?
The only people that improvised were Stephen Merchant and Rebel.
Yes, go ahead.
Aside from finding a studio to actually help you take this story from the script to the screen, what was the other hardest difficulty you encountered while making the film?
Yeah, repeat the question. So what was the, seems like from getting the script to screen, what was the hardest hurdle?
Aside from finding
Aside from getting a
studio to
studio to get it, what was the hardest hurdle in producing the film, I guess? Aside from getting it greenlit.
I think the fact that the subject matter and the entire story. Well, when I started writing it, I told a friend, what are you writing about? I said, oh, it's a story about this little kid in the Hitler Youth, and a friend of mine said, you can stop right there. No one's going to make that. And so I realized that there's no way to pitch this film. And if you say something, hey, I've got a great idea, it's a movie about this little kid who's a Nazi. No one wants to make that. And so I decided that I'll just write the script and send that out and use that as a pitch. So I never really pitched the film.
I think you do a great job in marrying comedy and tragedy in most of your work. And I was just wondering if this was particularly harder for you to pull off the comedy because it was such a real time in history that was very dark.
My question is, the audience member really loves Taika's work in marrying comedy and drama, but was this a new challenge because of the subject matter? How is it different from your other films?
This is definitely my most mature film. And yes, of course, it's a hard film to make, and it's also like while you're making it. Also, trying to direct a film dressed like a fucking idiot. It's really hard, and it's quite challenging. But I think the hardest thing really was trying to figure out the tone. But that was something we did in the edit later on. I feel like there's a bit of judgment about comedy and the power of comedy. And in my opinion, comedy is an extremely important and powerful medium. And for many, many years, thousands of years probably, comedy has been a great way of attacking dictatorships, regimes, and bigotry, and really dumb ideas. And there's a great story that Stevie Mitchell told me about Groucho Marx. And so the story goes, probably some of you know it, that his daughter, in like 30, went to a country club in Beverly Hills, and she wasn't allowed in the pool because they had a no Jews in the pool policy. And instead of retaliating with vitriol and anger, in true Groucho style, he wrote a letter to the manager of the country club in Beverly Hills and said, to be fair, she's only half Jewish, so would you consider letting her into the pool up to her waist? And when you can attack those kind of ideas with comedy, then it sort of like dismantles the entire thing. And that's why I think comedy is always going to be a powerful weapon in this.
Go ahead.
You talk about the tone and how that comes across in the film. How much the actors deliver really powerful, emotional, just very natural kind of responses. How much of that was directed and how much of that just was organic?
I'd say, well, with actors, I need to make a friendship with them. And if they trust me, and I trust them, and it's a very, very direct answer. But yeah, no, it really is like that. You know, like, you don't want to work with someone who's an asshole, and you know, if they believe in the project and the message, then good things come of it.
The red in the back.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Not her. No, you've done this before.
You don't know that, do you?
Sorry?
So I guess it's interesting that you say that you don't like working with children because I feel like you make a lot of heartwarming, family-friendly movies. And
What are you trying to say?
they're nice and I like them and they make me feel good. And I want to know what is the draw for you and what are you trying to accomplish when you, what do you want to portray when you do these kind of movies?
I know we all it.
Yeah, the question is, I mean, you like his film very much. Even though he says he doesn't like working with kids, he does. What is the draw of working with kids, Taika? And what's the message you're trying to convey?
I think
the films
what you're
you make?
trying to ask. Well, I do love how children, and really, children do put a mirror up to us, and because they're so brutal and honest. My children are so horrible to me. I'm like, how's your day now? And they're great. You are the worst dad. But I like that. I like that they're really honest. And so a lot of this came about. So when I first had the idea to make this film, it was in 2010. It was 2010, 2011. It was the 20-year anniversary of the Bosnian conflict. And when I was a kid, that was happening. I thought, it's just like a war happening on TV. I don't know about it. It's in a place that I never heard of. 20 years later, I thought, I'm going to learn about this thing. And I realized all the shit that happened in that conflict was so brutal, so atrocious, that in my mind, I think before that, I thought, I think the worst things that humans could do to each other was in World War II. And then I realized, no, in no way did that stop in World War II. And I tried to research how many conflicts and wars happened after World War II, and I stopped at about 200. And my thing was that I've never really seen or read or understood what children saw or experienced in all of those conflicts. And that was an important thing to me, because as a father, okay, well, they're watching us, and they are learning from us, and they are constantly thinking, okay, so that's what I'm going to do when I grow up. So really, that's where the idea came from. Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing for me was trying to, I guess maybe trying to talk to myself about like how I am as a father, and how I am presenting myself to my children.
So time for one or two more questions. Go ahead. You're right there.
I made you a lei with JoJo action figures. I don't know if you've seen these yet, but they're pretty fabulous. And they're holding hearts instead of grenades. And here's your little Jojo Rabbit with the bunny tail. So there you go.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
How about, you take questions to the back. Go ahead. Yes.
On a lighter note, I love your re-revolution. Have you made enough pamphlets this time?
Oh, this is a Thor reference. I don't know how to answer this. But I have to say yes. Any others?
One more. Go ahead.
There we go. Hello, Taika. I just want to say that because, Jojo Rabbit. And also, like, serious note, Big, you're one of the few people in Hollywood, Polynesian to be specific, that's pretty much ruling over, like, for us, and taking charge of getting more respect for Polynesians. Do you think Hollywood would finally pay respect to us as Polynesians and hopefully portray us properly? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm just kind of curious.
The question is,
Okay, the question was, will Hollywood pay respects to Polynesians? As you are a working director in Hollywood and you are Polynesian, so what do you think? What are your thoughts?
well, Anderson, I've known you for a long time, and you're so passionate about this subject. And I've always said, if anyone is an expert or has a lot of opinions on this kind of thing, it's Anderson. So, just for once, why didn't you?
I think, when we have more people like Taika running things and working on the camera and working in front of the camera, and the answer is yes. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Please stay in your seats as Mr. Taika leaves.
Oh, please stay in your seats because we're going to play it again.
One more time.
Birds are leaving.